Matt and I are here to teach you a little bit about Italy in World War II. A lot of people don't even know that Italy was a part of World War II, but they were actually pretty important. We're going to reach points like their leaders, battles, who they were allies with, who they were fighting, and many more. So let's get into it. What happened in Italy between World War I and World War II? Well, that's a good question. Italy fell into financial hardship when their government had 6 times the debt that they had pre-war because they had to help pay for World War I. Benito Mussolini founded the Fascist Party, which happened to be anti-communist, which, if they would have led to power, they probably wouldn't have been fighting World War II, fighting with Germany, because they wouldn't have been communist. In the elections of May 1921, 35 fascists, including Mussolini, were elected to the Chamber of Deputies, representing about 250,000 official party members drawn mostly from the lower middle class. Political tensions between fascists and the communists mounted in Italy almost to the point of civil war. Fascist black shirts and communist red shirts were often seen brawling in the streets. By the summer of 1922, the fascist army marched from Naples to Rome, declaring their loyalty to the king, Victor Emmanuel, and to the Roman Catholic Church, and claiming its purpose was to free Italy from the liberal left. The communists also possessed their own army, and the king feared violence in the future. In an effort to avoid this, he named Mussolini premier on October 30th, 1922. Mussolini used his private army, now turned into a militia, to purge local governments of any opposition to fascism. He consolidated his power under the motto, all in state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. Under this doctrine, he ruled Italy with a tight fist during the war years, instituting economic and social reforms, some successful, others unsuccessful. He was sympathetic to Adolf Hitler's desire to regain glory for Germany and Europe, and proved Hitler's most important ally. That is what led them from the over World War I into the arms of the now raging World War II. Wait, who led Italy in World War II? Like I said before, Benito Mussolini was the Italian dictator during World War II. What is Mussolini's backstory and childhood? Also, what was his life after the war? Mussolini was born in 1883 in Dovia di Prepadipo, Forli, Italy. When he was a young boy, he was smart, but he got in trouble and often wasn't on task. He came to power after he made the fascist party that led the Italian government into trouble, and then attacked them to gain complete control over Italy. In 1942, the Allies marched up the Italian peninsula, causing Mussolini to surrender and be arrested. He later escaped and tried to flee to Switzerland with his mistress, when they were caught and executed the next day by the Italian underground. Mussolini was hung upside down. Did Italy have any kinds of major battle strategies? Yes. In the Battle of Lake Trasimene, the Italians used a flanking strategy where they would have a small amount of troops come to the front of the enemy, and they had the rest surround them from all sides, and get the enemies to attack the weak-looking front of the Italian army, while the strong outside flanking groups came in and surrounded and suffocated the enemy. This strategy worked many times, but the one problem was that they lost a lot of people when they did this. What was Italy like after World War II? After World War II, communism gained popularity, and Italy almost became a communist country. The United States tried their hardest to keep them from converting over to a communist country. Eventually, the United States got them to convert to become a democratic country. Italy didn't have any war crimes charged against them, like Germany and Japan. They decided executing their old leaders was the best way to move on from the war.
Well, I'm here to talk to you about Italy and World War II basic facts. Germany, Japan, and Italy were allies. 330,000 military deaths for Italy, 80,000 civilian deaths. The total death for Italy is 410,000. They spent about $94 billion in the war. They fought poorly and surrendered a lot, and most of it seemed like they regret doing everything in the war, even getting involved. They had bad weapons, not enough ammo, and they were not ready to fight. If they were smart, they would never have gotten involved. Now I have two of the battles that took place in Italy and how they happened, and who was in it. Sicily Campaign, July 9th, 1943. The U.S. attacked Italy with the British. General Patton beat the British to Messina. On July 25th, the King of Italy, Emmanuel, overthrew Mussolini. Then Mussolini was imprisoned, but his ally Germany came to rescue him. Then they sent him up to be the leader of a new republic. Now is the second battle I will be talking about: invasion of Italy, September 3rd through September 3rd and the 9th. On the 3rd, Montgomery landed at Italy after a big bombardment on Italy. On the 5th, the U.S. armed landed at Salerno. The Italian government had surrendered on the 9th, and they told their people not to resist. Eventually, the two U.S. armies had captured the lower part of Italy. By the time December came around, the Germans had retreated to a fortress along the Liri Valley. Allies were about to try something that had only been done in Rome once, which was to capture the Eternal City. This is how and why Italy lost the war, and its allies lost the war, because they were too weak. Germany and one of their allies fought with Italy. If it was not for their allies, Italy would have been easily taken over. They are so called the joke of in the performance of World War II. They had poor weaponry and lack of supplies. If they were smart, they would have not gotten involved in the war. They fought poorly and surrendered a lot in most battles, unless they had allies with them. The only really strong good thing that Italy had was Germany as an allies. They were simply wimps in the war effort. Italy's homeland during the war was not doing good. They were just getting destroyed. They were getting attacked by America and Britain. When they were attacked, a lot of things were damaged, and a lot of places were being taken over. And the Germans were over there to help defend their home and leaders. Lots of men were captured. Some of the civilians had signs and other things to show the government that they should not have gotten in this war, because this destroyed their country. And Italy had lost the war with their poor effort, in which Germany fought on Italy's land and protected them, and they were so defeated. One reason why they were so weak is because they were part of the Axis allies, and they were fighting many other countries. They were a prime target for other countries because they were weak and not ready for the war. Their leaders were fighting like Mussolini. For example, Mussolini was overthrown by their king. Germany had to help give Mussolini power back.